Hi, this is Chris Bertelson with a quick clip from Nevada Learning Series. Let's look at some great ways to find and manage files in Windows 7. As computers evolve and hard disks get larger, just being able to find your files becomes a key concern. Well, the good news is in Windows 7, search is just built in. If I click on the Start button or push the Windows key, the Start menu pops up, and you'll notice in the lower left-hand corner here, the cursor is already blinking by default in a little search window. I can type what I'm searching for, and it will find it. If I want to run a program, I can type SOL for solitaire, hit the Enter key, and just that quickly, I've now found and launched that program. Much faster than navigating through the menus with the mouse. It kind of harkens back to the old days when we had a command prompt if you ever used DOS and you would type Word or Excel to start those programs. Well, I want to search for a file, so I touch the Windows key and I type in K9 Budget 2008 Q1. And you can see a list of those files. Maybe I don't want Q1, so I'll back up and change that to Q2. And just that fast, it shows me a list of all of those files on my system. I can click and I can launch any of those files. Now you'll notice that some of these files, let's go back to Q1, don't say K9 Budget 2008 Q1. That's because it goes beyond the file name and it looks into the file itself. So it searches beyond that into the contents of the files. If I want to open a file, I can click on it, or oftentimes I don't know where that file is, so I will right-click on it and open the file location so I can see exactly where it's located. Let's search for something else. Let's say I want to look for little dogs, and we come up with a list of little dogs, and we'll click on that folder. And there you can see that I've got some pictures of little dogs. Aren't they cute? This is the File Explorer in Windows 7, and this is how we can look at our files and how they're set up. Now if you look at the very top, we have the path that I went through, that I've gone down to get to this particular folder of little dogs. If I click up there, it changes to the old C:\file folder name syntax, and it's automatically selected, which is kind of nice because a lot of times if you do want to go up there, you want to copy part of that, so it's all ready for that. But typically it just lists the branches of those files, of that file path, and if you click on the little triangles up there, you'll notice that you see the other branches. I could branch out to big dogs, little dogs, mighty dogs, underdogs, small animals, warm-blooded, all the way back up here to the top. So let's go back to my documents by clicking on that, and maybe I go to that pet project folder a lot. Well, over here on the left I have a list of favorite folders that I go to, and I can just drag and drop from the right over there, and we'll position that on the left, and now I've created a link or a shortcut to Pet Project. So no matter where I am, I can just single click and go to that particular folder. I can rearrange this in the list of favorites over there, so I could drag it up and down if I wanted to. I can right click and remove it, or if I wanted to rename it, call it something else, I can go ahead and do that. If I want to go back to where I was, we have a back button up here in the Explorer. It's just like your browser, so we can go back to my documents, and if I hover over it again, you can see we're going to the dogs here, back to little dogs. And then if you hit the forward button, it tells you where you're going forward to as you hover over that. And if you drop down this little list, you can see a click stream or a path of all the places that you have been to as you've navigated back and forth. Now, as we look at files and how they're organized on your system, the question in my mind has always been, do I organize them by file type, or do I organize them by file use? By file type, you'd put all the Word files in a folder and all the Excel files in a folder. By use, you might say, well, all of the budget files will be in this folder, and that might be Word, Excel, PowerPoint, any number of different files. Well, now what you can do is you can organize in a new way called a library. Let's take a look at our libraries of folders. If I come over here to Documents, on the left, I see on the right a listing of all the files that I have in this library. There's several folders, there's several different files, and they look like they're all together in one place. But in fact, if I expand that branch on the left, you can see that I'm looking at the files that are in two folders, one being My Documents, the other being Public Documents. So what this means is you can create virtual views or virtual folders that can include files that you want maybe by type, maybe by use. Let's say that we want to set up a new library, and we come up here to the top and we say New Library. So it creates one. And we'll say Animals for that library and double click on it. It says, okay, what folders do you want to include? So we'll say, well, let's include a folder over here on the left from Documents called Pet Project. So now our library includes one folder and all of those files, but I want to add more. So I can come up here to the top where it says One Location, click on that link, and I can add other locations. So let's also add some folders from our music directory here. We'll say Animal Songs, so we'll include that. And I'd also like to include some pictures. So we'll go down to our Pictures library and choose Animal Pictures. Alright, we say OK. And now when I go to the Animals library, I can see a listing of all of the folders and all of their files, whether they're pictures, songs, you can see the different songs we have listed there, or files in that other folder. You can organize these by folder. You can also look at them by date. So we've got earlier this month, earlier this year, and a long time ago, and far, far away. You can also organize them by type of file, which organizes them into little decks or stacks like that. Or you could organize them just by name, which just lists everything. But I like this because it's a different way of looking at my files, kind of grouping them together. Now the question I had when I first started using this was, okay, I've got the idea of libraries, but what happens if I drop a file on top of a library? Since it's a virtual view or collection of folders, where does that file really go? Which folder does it physically go to? Well, if you go up here to the locations of your folders, you can see there's a default save location. So that's the one that it goes to if you drop a file on there. And if you want to change that, you can just select it, right-click, and change that to another save location. So that's the concept of libraries. A little bit different. You kind of have to think a little bit to get your head around that. But I find them useful for organizing my information. Now, if I want to refine my search a little bit more, I can come up here and I could say, okay, we want to find canine budget, anything that has canine budget, and we can also choose a type. So we've got this little search window in the upper right hand corner, and we can choose the type of file we're looking for. I want to narrow it down to just Excel worksheets that have canine budget in them. So that narrows my list down, and I can see those files listed down there in the list. Now, if it turns out I'm going to be searching for this on a regular basis, maybe every quarter I look for canine budgets that have Excel worksheets, I can save this search by clicking on the Save Search button up there, and we'll call this canine budget, and we'll go ahead and save that. And now no matter where I am, I can be working and say, well, I want to look for any worksheets that are have canine budget in them. I can click on this button over here on the left, this search, and call that up, and it reruns that search. And if any new spreadsheets have been added with the words canine budget in them, they'll automatically come up and appear in this list. So there's some new ways to find and manage files in Windows 7. This has been a quick clip from Nevada Learning Series, helping you get the most out of Microsoft Office.